Guten Abend, Freunde. I've just had a crash course in this welcome phrase from a dear friend who's sitting in the audience. If I've said it wrong, pardon me. What I meant was, good evening, friends. I, Nilima Dalmia Adhar, Ehsas Woman of Delhi, honorary convener of Delhi NCR Affairs of the Prabha Khaitan Foundation, am delighted to welcome you here to this exclusive session of Tête-à-tea initiated by the Prabha Khaitan Foundation. It is a proud privilege for us to host Ambassador Philipp Ackermann for this edition of Tête-à-tea. But before we begin, allow me to take a few moments to acquaint you with the Prabha Khaitan Foundation. We are a non-profit organization based in Kolkata dedicated to the promotion of literature, performing arts, education, gender equality, and women's empowerment. With a deep-rooted commitment to cultural enrichment, the Foundation curates a diverse range of initiatives that bring together voices from across the artistic and literary spectrum. From engaging author meets and prestigious book launches to thought-provoking panel discussions and literary festivals that welcome both emerging and established writers, the Foundation fosters a thriving and vibrant literary landscape. And beyond literature, it celebrates artistic expression through boutique festivals and captivating performances by singers, dancers, and theatre artists. Through these initiatives, the Prabha Khaitan Foundation continues to preserve our cultural heritage and create spaces where creativity and expressions flourish. Now let me introduce very proudly our guest for the evening, Ambassador Philipp Ackermann. Ambassador Philipp Ackermann studied art history and economics in Bonn, Heidelberg, and Utrecht. If I say these names wrong, you'll forgive me. And received his doctorate in art history in 1993. That same year, he joined the German Foreign Service. His overseas postings include Rabat, Morocco, New York, the German mission to the UN. From 2006 to 2007, he headed the German provincial reconstruction team in Kunduz in Afghanistan. Between 2007 and 2010, he served as the political counselor in New Delhi, India. He was deputy head of mission in Washington, D.C. from 2014 to 2016. In Berlin, he worked between 2002 and 2006 in the offices of Federal Foreign Ministers Joschka Fischer and Frank-Walter Steinmeier. And from 2010 to 2014, he held the position as head of Task Force Afghanistan-Pakistan in the Federal Foreign Office and as deputy special representative for Afghanistan and Pakistan. Before being assigned to his current job, he was Director General for Africa, Latin America, Near and Middle East at the Federal Foreign Office for 5 years. He was appointed ambassador to India in December 2023 and is concurrently ambassador designate to the Maldives, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal. And we can put our hands together for this absolute shining luminary.
So I'm sorry, but I have to correct it. I'm not ambassador to Nepal, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and Bangladesh. I'm only ambassador to India and Bhutan. So we have missions in all the other countries, and I started my career here in August 2022. I'm just,
My apologies for the little lapse.
Don't worry. Just
Your Excellency, you will excuse me. Next time I'll make sure that it is corrected by you. Today's conversationalist is our own Srinjoy Chowdhury, a senior journalist, an author with over 4 decades of experience in Indian media. He is currently the consulting editor of national affairs at Times Now. He has authored several acclaimed books, including Dispatches from Kargil and Flight into Fear, I think which has been made into a film, am I right? the flight into fear, and has been a visiting professor at leading institutions in India and abroad. And without taking any more of your time, I hand the floor to Srinjoy and Your Excellency.
Hello and welcome. And Ambassador Ackermann, it's an absolute pleasure to have you. You've always been kind and helpful on these years. Even when I've troubled you a little bit, you have been extremely patient. So I'm sure that this is going to be a very warm 1 hour. And I begin with something that happened about 7 years ago. I was in Stockholm, Prime Minister Modi was there, and suddenly I was asked, do you have a reporter in Berlin? Can you arrange for something? So I said, what for? Prime Minister is going to London after this. We said, no. Chancellor Angela Merkel has just called Prime Minister and said that since you're going, you're in Europe in any case, why don't you come by Berlin on your way back? And the Prime Minister immediately agreed. Now, that apart, the fact that between 2014 and 2021, Chancellor Merkel and Prime Minister Modi met about 12 or 13 times. And in that period, Prime Minister Modi didn't meet anyone more than Chancellor Merkel, at least 12 or 13 times. Now, Ambassador, tell me, what does that say about Germany and India?
Thank you very much, Srinjoy. And let me start by saying thank you very much for inviting me. A foundation that looks so much after culture, arts, and dance is, per se, very, very close to my heart because, I, as you rightly say, am an art historian by training. And if you follow me on social media and elsewhere, you see that I have a very strong connection to the arts in India. And therefore, thank you very much for having me in this framework. I really appreciate it. Now, you mentioned the Chancellor and Prime Minister Modi. You have to, when you see modern communication between heads of state and government, there's always the telephone, there's always also WhatsApp and texting. But of course, the character of the relations are reflected in the amount of time leaders spend together. There is no doubt. And you say 12, 13 times, that is bilateral meetings, official visits. You would call them state visits, but that's also the odd half hour during a G20 meeting or a G7 meeting where the Prime Minister and the Chancellor of Germany sit together and discuss. And the more you meet, the more you develop chemistry. I mean, that's like in daily life. And the fact that they have met so often shows that there is a level of trust. There was a level of trust that was remarkable, I would say. Now, Chancellor Merkel has now the second successor already. She left office in 21. But already the new Chancellor, who has taken office in May, Friedrich Merz, has met the Prime Minister in the margins of the G7, and we are now about to find a common date so that Chancellor Friedrich Merz can call on the Prime Minister in India and will travel to India in the coming months in order to introduce himself formally to the long-standing Prime Minister of India. It is clear and very obvious that Germany and India have a truly deep partnership, a strategic partnership, which is more than the leaders meeting each other. It goes way beyond that, but that leaders meet each other is an important part to this partnership.
There's one thing, it's almost a thesis, that compared to other countries like Germany, the German-Indian relationship is almost below radar. Now you're going to change that, of course, and you are in the process. But you look at, there are many of you here who have Mercedes cars, and yet it only occurs to you after that, it's also a German car. You have a BMW, some of you, and again, B stands for Bavarian. Then the car that is popularly called Chudi Wali Gadi, the Audi, that too is German. That apart, when we went to school and university and so on, what did we read about? They gave us a lot of trouble. Planck and Einstein and Haber and Heisenberg, they're all German. So,
Yeah, Srinjoy, let me say that, if a partnership is below radar, that may be not the worst thing, frankly. Look at what happens to the US-India relationship. It is just sometimes it's in heaven, sometimes it's out of heaven. Let's put it that way. So being below radar is not a bad thing as such. But what I want to make, my point I'd like to make here is that Mercedes and BMW is what that's your first association with Germany. Good cars, precise machinery, and or even good services like SAP, a very big German company being heavily involved in India and the Indian market. But it is as you rightly point out, that's not the only thing, and I think you should look at Indo-German relations when they started, and that's basically in the 19th century when the German academic landscape started to get involved with what we call Indology, so the studies of old India, Sanskrit studies, the studies of Hinduism, studies of manuscripts, studies of art, and you have a handful of excellent scholars of this time. Max Müller is one of them that every Indian basically knows. But you go south, you'll have the people, Ferdinand Kittel, who was the one who started Kannada, making Kannada a language that is codified in dictionaries, and you have the same thing with Malayalam. And so basically you have a very strong German tension, I would say, often through missionaries in India, and that goes through the centuries, even through the bad times, I would say, until the day of today. And that's something, that is one of the manifold layers we have in our relationship, is this cultural layership, this love, I would say, to love and curiosity for the Indian civilization that makes us in Germany, still in Europe, compared to other countries and other cities, one of the places of really elaborate, sophisticated learningness of Indian civilization and culture.
I was going to come to that, but now that you mention it, and you also mentioned the heaven and hell issue vis-a-vis America. And like all of us, we live in the Trump era. And in the Trump era, life is a little different from what it has been in the past. But every one of us here, we have children, grandchildren, and while my daughter goes to university in Europe, many want to go to university in America. And there is a 4-letter word that comes in the way. And this is a dangerous 4-letter word. It's visa. And keeping that in mind, there are good people who want to go to Harvard or elsewhere. Now, can Germany accommodate them in Heidelberg and Göttingen and places like that?
I was a little afraid that you would move away from this very nice soft issue of Indian civilization to Donald Trump, but you did not, so I'm happy. Let me go to this. Let me answer this question of yours. And I think we are very much interested in getting the smartest of the Indian students, those who want to go to America and don't feel like doing it anymore for all the obvious reasons. Welcome to Germany. And I want to say that we have now 60,000 Indian students in Germany. It's by far the largest non-German group. And all Indians get, or most of Indians who apply, get accepted at German universities. Why is that? Because German universities have made excellent experiences with Indian students. We perceive them as extremely dedicated, committed, very ambitious, very, very hardworking, and therefore many universities are very proud of hosting so many Indian students. And so I would say that we really need the smartest and the brightest, and normally these people tend to go to the Anglo-Saxon world, but there is one big advantage of German academic landscape, that is higher education is a public good in Germany. So it is state funded and state paid. That means that even for the Indian students who have never paid a cent in German taxpayers, obviously because they come from India, education is basically for free. So you don't pay tuition fees. Even at the best schools, you pay a very, very low tuition fees, almost none. So that's, compared to what you spend in the US or in Canada, it's really a big plus. And I'm glad that, now in the Indian community that more and more becomes sort of a known fact, and therefore we see the numbers going to Germany rising. I would like to spread the news that we are offering top-notch universities, the best education possible, mainly in the STEM area, and that's where 70% of the students from India come from, or they want to go into STEM subjects. I'm still, there's still room for improvement when it comes to the level of students, and therefore we at the embassy want to convince students from India to look rather to Germany, which is not that far away, than to the US. Good for their parents, purse, I would say.
And we stay with the four-letter word. Then it's a matter of visas, and the phrase that's come up so often in recent weeks is the H-1B.
Yeah.
Now, America has a Silicon Valley. Can Germany accommodate some of the best and the brightest, particularly in computer science, also finance in Germany? Because then Europe, not just Germany, but Europe will have an alternative in terms of bright people from India.
Yeah, I think, as you're all aware, all Western countries, European, even the US, even they don't realize or they don't acknowledge it, but we are all in need for skilled labor. And our societies have been growing slowly. We have been with a birth rate of 1.5 since 50 years. That means that Germany is a very clearly aging society and needs skilled labor migration. And the government, be that conservative or social democrat, has acknowledged that fact. So we have liberal immigration laws. We have many ways to get labor into Germany. And I can tell you, it's not only the smartest IT engineers, they have no problem to find any job in Germany, but it's also nurses, it's caregivers. We need apprentices for craftsman shops. We need even bus drivers to a certain extent. So I think there is, across the board, there is a willingness to migrate to Germany. And visa will be issued once you show that you qualify for jobs or even for an opportunity card to look for a job in Germany. I have to say at this stage, of course, like in every other European or American country, there is migration is a contested issue. In Germany, it is debated, and the government tries hard to explain to the people that we need legal migration and we don't want illegal migration, and that's discussed, widely in the newspapers and in television and in social media also. So it is not, of course, paradise when you come to Germany as an Indian. It is a big step to take. It's a completely different culture where people seem grumpy and the fog is everywhere. This is something you have to learn to live with. And therefore, I admire many Indians who are so courageous to leave their beautiful country to go for a more prosperous life in Germany. But you have to take that into consideration. There's one thing I say to everybody here. There is a tradition in India to go through agents when you want to go to Germany, and that we would say rather not do it. But if you do it, don't trust the agent. The agent has a clear business interest, and we have seen time and again, not all agents are bad, don't get me wrong, but some of them are basically really fooling their clients also. So take a look, double check. If you go through an agent, might be he's not giving you the whole range of opportunities.
You spoke about fog in Germany. You've been in Delhi long enough to know about the winter fog in Delhi. But that said, let's not forget that Germany is the third largest economy. We talk about being the fourth largest economy. The Germans are the third largest as of now. And their per capita income is like 50,000 euro plus.
5,000 euros.
Yes. And we are way behind. But the relationship has been very close for years and years. Now, no one remembers the fact that Siemens is actually a German company. Siemens, everyone thinks, is a local outfit. Now, how can things being what they are today, with all these trade deals being signed or not signed, how can things go forward with the Germans?
So, we talked about migration. Now we are shifting to business and economics, and I think this is rightly mentioned because it's one of the big pillars of our relationship is economics, business. We have more than 2,000 German companies here in India. Not only the big ships like Siemens. Siemens is a huge company; it's one of the biggest companies in Germany. In India since 1867, by the way, so a long time, starting in Kolkata, with the telegraph station from Kolkata to London. But we have also what we call small and medium-sized enterprises here, more and more. In enterprises that have maybe 300 to 400 employees and who set up shop in India because they feel that this is a market they should not miss out on and they should invest in. And that shows trust and confidence in what will happen in India, a country which has a very solid growth and will continue to have a solid growth in the years to come. Shows that there is the people believe in the story of India now. So I'm very confident that German business will invest more and more in India. I will tell you that our trade volume, goods and services, is about 50 billion euros a year, which makes us by far the biggest European trade partner. But our trade volume with goods and services with China is about 300 billion euros a year. So it's way bigger than the Indian volume, and we want to increase this Indian volume big time. What is needed in order to increase it? And you mentioned it is the trade deals, and in this case, I would say for us, the free trade agreement between India and the European Union would be a true game changer. Yeah? I think our industry would be much more comfortable if they knew that some tariffs would be reduced or reduced to none even in areas of their interest. So I guess that, and I'm very confident that we get by the end of January, when the EU-India summit will take place here in Delhi, we'll have something on the table that is at least a start for an FTA. Yeah? Maybe not the full-fledged comprehensive FTA we have with Canada or with New Zealand or so, but a very good start for a closer economic cooperation, beneficial for both sides, India and Germany, so and the European Union. So this will be, I think, boosting the trade and business ties big time.
I'm a little afraid of looking out of the window, keeping in mind pollution. But let's not forget that the Americans have said, the president himself has said, that climate change is just quote-unquote sheer nonsense. Now, as a result, we probably have to work with Europe. We probably have to work with not just Germany, but all of Europe on this. How can India and the EU work together on climate change?
So I think the American president belongs to a small group of people who say that. The overwhelming majority worldwide is of the opinion that climate change is a sad reality which we have to cope with in one or the other way. India is a decisive factor in this fight. Without India, all combat is futile. We have to get India on board. And I can tell you that bilaterally, Germany and India have this partnership for sustainable and green and sustainable development, where we, on many, many levels, identify projects, very concrete projects, in order to reduce carbon emission, be that non-fossil fuels in energy mixes of some states, be that smart city solutions, more public transport, less traffic on the roads, be that helping India in the preservation of biodiversity in many ways. So this partnership, I like it so much because you can grasp it. It's something that is not theoretical, it's concrete, and I can go wherever I am in India. I have some project of this GSDP partnership which is great. And it's not development cooperation in a classical sense. It's basically 95% it's credit lines from the German state bank that are very, very favorable, generous. So, but the Indian taxpayer will, or the Indian treasury will pay them back. But it's something that be that the metro in Bangalore or energy mix in Rajasthan or something, that's very beneficial for both of us. The reducing carbon emission here is great for the world and it's great for us. When it comes to, and I have to say that also when it comes to international fora, cooperation is not as close and not as constructive, because India plays a different role when it comes to COP or something where the world comes together. And I think one of our tasks is now to sit down with India. It's a long-term task to prepare the COP or to lead the COP preparations in a way that when it comes to the negotiation, when we are at the table, that the positions are not too far from each other, because intellectually, as you rightly say, we are on the same page. There is no doubt that climate change is the biggest challenge of our times, and therefore we need to find a good way with India to deal with it, a good way for the world. I think bilaterally we do it in a great way. Multilaterally, I think there is still some kilometers to walk until then.
Yes, there is also breaking news. At the end of the day, I'm still a journalist. And the breaking news is as follows. I was with someone in the Defense Ministry just a couple of hours ago, and he said that this deal for 6 submarines that is already in the public domain is going to be signed by MDL and its TKY perhaps early next year. Your comments?
You turn out to be mostly better informed than I am. This is you always were one of the sources of my knowledge in this respect. But what is true is that there are negotiations underway on this submarine. I think it looks very good, as you say. We have undergone a due process of diligence. Indian side has checked and assessed and vetted the offer on the table, joint venture between a big Indian shipyard and a German shipyard, TKMS and MDL. And we do hope, that's the German, our German wish is that at the end of the day this deal might be signed. That will be escorted by some governmental measures. It's not only the deal between 2 companies, it's also, and the government of India, it's also a government-to-government part will come. And I think that will bring our defense cooperation to a next level. You might have seen that the submarines are all over the news, but what is also there is that on many levels German companies are much better working together with their Indian clients and their Indian partners than in the past years. And I'd say in the last 3 years there was an acceleration mechanism in the German system that allowed Indian companies to purchase in Germany or to put common projects with German companies in a much more smoother and elegant way than before. So that's it's a game changer, I think, in our relationship.
See, it's not just, these 6 submarines are not just about 6 submarines. It's a strategic relationship which will probably last 20, 30 years as a result. And one point, now that relations are so close, there is so much trust, is this Rheinmetall issue going to be sorted out?
Yeah, I think Rheinmetall was blacklisted for a long time and is still blacklisted. I think there is an initiation of getting it delisted. I'm not privileged to, or I don't know all the details on this process. I think Rheinmetall is in principle very interested to start dealing with India, even setting up shop in India. I think there's still a way to go, but we are there is a direction here, and I think that's a good start. Can I say it's a strategic decision, but I also want to say with a certain satisfaction that our submarines are pretty good. That's not something you do. I don't want to say the best. Let others say they are the best, but it's a good decision to get these boats. And you might remember that in the 80s, India...
HDW.
purchased, I think, also four. It was four. And I saw them, they are still running, I mean, they are still in a good shape. And the Indian Navy is still working with them. And that shows, that you get a quality product also.
Yes, undoubtedly, I've been in one of them. So that apart, now we get to your areas of specialization. I was thinking about Germany and India over the years, over decades. And I was remembering conversations that Tagore had with Einstein on philosophy. And I was also remembering a conversation Werner Heisenberg and one of his colleagues' daughter is right here, I think, was about quantum mechanics with Tagore. And Heisenberg, of course, had everything on paper. He did get a Nobel Prize along with Schrödinger, who's Austrian, but also German-speaking. But while he had everything packed down, all the mathematics, all the sums, he couldn't relate it to real life. And after his conversation with Tagore, mostly about philosophy and life and so on, he felt that he actually understood more about the subject and about life in general. I'm sure you know about it.
So let me say that physics is certainly not my area of expertise. It was the worst thing I did ever in school. I have no clue, frankly. I mean, but what I can tell you is that, Rabindranath Tagore was a star when he came to Europe, of course. Everybody admired him. He was like somebody, a poet, a painter, a representative of civilization who came to Europe, and I think everybody was in admiration, if not in love with him. And these conversations you're referring to, for me, they are expression of this curiosity and this admiration of the Indian civilization. Tagore came, Nobel Prize winner, came to Europe. He met the brightest and the biggest scholars of the time, and he left a huge impact and a huge impression on these people. So I think Tagore is a name that you'll find, widely spread as a very important author in all across Europe till today.
Thank you. And to move on to something that many of our children and grandchildren would be very keen on. You see, as you know, India is probably the best country in the world in cricket. But we are the worst in football, at least one of the worst. And Germany is much, much better.
Yeah, but
is there anything that the Italians have already sent some coaches across? Is there anything the Germans can do about it?
So this is a Bengali speaking, of course.
He knows far too much.
There's 3 states in India that are in love with football. West Bengal is the biggest one, I think, and then Kerala and then Goa, of course. So I would say that I see a future for football in India. Yeah, it will come, maybe not as quickly as some Bengalis would wish, but it will come, and we are doing quite a lot. There are, for example, some football clubs have partnerships with Indian football clubs. Maharashtra is one, and I think in Kolkata also. I think Bayern München was in Kolkata, were there. What we do is we have training programs for girls in the villages. So we have coaches coming over to teach girls playing football and also young boys in the villages. And there has always been a certain, exposure of German football in India. Maybe not like the Italians do, but on a grassroots level, to make the sport more popular in some parts of the Northwest, for example. And frankly, once the Indians will discover football, cricket might seem a little less interesting, because it's just so much more complicated than football in the ruling. So, and it's also much more is going on in football. So I would say, wait another 20, 30 years. We might not live it, you and me, but India will turn to football. That's my prediction here.
Once upon a time, we weren't so bad. We came fourth in an Olympics, I think 1956 or something.
That's the Bengali.
And
He knows everything.
It was all down the tubes. But the decline of Bengal and the decline of football are actually similar. But the ambassador has to leave, but we have time for questions. I tried to finish as early as possible. Ma'am, right there.
Just to add to the sports thing, subject, I would like to ask how do you think Germany can contribute to sustainability in sports tournaments and make it more green now that you are looking at hosting championships which are carbon neutral, like the last one where the Paris Olympics was partially carbon neutral, but that's where I think Germany can just come in and do a lot of support for us.
It's an excellent idea, and I think we will compete for the Olympic Games. Germany will again compete for Olympic Games. We were not hugely successful in the last biddings, but this time we hope that, and the carbon neutrality will play an enormously important role. So I think when we join hands in that matter, I think good things can come out. I will take that thought maybe with us. Maybe we can think of something where we can join hands and do something together. May I say in this context, I have been to the most remarkable tournament in Delhi lately. I've never seen such a touching tournament. It was the para-athletics in Delhi a month ago. It was amazing. It was just amazing. Yeah. When I think of it, I get goose pimples. I mean, it's really the most touching tournament I've seen in a long, long time. I spent an evening with the German team, people who were blind, almost blind, people who lost their legs, people who have birth defects, and it was such a wonderful time to spend with them. And then seeing them competing is out of this world. It's much more the old sports spirits than in the new tournaments where you have ads all over, where it is completely commercialized, where you have millions of spectators. There you feel the old spirit of the Olympics are still there, and gave me such an enormous pleasure to be there. And India was a fabulous host, frankly. I think it's one of the nicest things I've seen in a long, long time.
Thank you. I actually work as a chief brand and communication officer with the Smartworks company in India.
All right.
And I was coordinating with the embassy for
excellent.
And so, I mean, looking forward, do you think us, as in the country, need more exchange programs wherein our athletes and the other athletes can learn to grow in a positive, area, and the training can enhance the performances worldwide?
Very good.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Your Excellency, you speak absolutely impeccable
King's English, if I may call it. Is there anything that you would like to say to us in Hindi? Any phrase, anything you like, anything you've adopted? Just anything. It'll be such a joy to hear you say that.
मैं भारत में जर्मनी का राजदूत हूँ और मैं दिल्ली में बहुत खुश हूँ.
Many ambassadors have come. No one's been applauded like this in a long time. Can we have a few more questions? Ma'am, over there. Yes.
Good evening, Your Excellency. So you mentioned briefly about the agents not knowing enough opportunities. So please pardon my ignorance if you could just throw a little bit of light on what is the other path to take if one is looking for, let's say, for students or for young enthusiasts to do something.
So I'm not sure whether I got the first part. The agents are not. I said that I don't trust your agents. So what?
No, you said that they probably don't know
Yeah.
enough of the
Yeah.
opportunities. So what is the other route?
Okay, I got it. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I didn't get it. So I will give you one good example. So we have a group of Indian students in Germany that are basically lured into Germany somehow. There are agencies here in the Northwest that have only one university on the books, and these are not German universities. They are British universities, Israeli universities, even Polish. I think one is. I mean, mostly British Israeli. They charge 10,000 euros per semester, and they take anybody. with an average of 51%, which, doesn't lead to some acceptance in any Indian university, you'd get accepted in Germany. So what happens is that these people, mostly Punjabis, I have to say, some Gujaratis also, they have to pay, their families get all the money together, and they start working in Germany. Mostly, you can work to a certain degree, 550 euros per month, but they work longer than that. That becomes illegal, it becomes illegal. So they never set foot in these universities, but they have to work in order to pay their debts. And that's, frankly, a group of students we don't want. It's not, we don't feel that they should, because it's not good education what they get. They get, it's foolish what they do. So I try with all due caution, because these universities are very eager to get the students, and they are looking what we do at the embassy. But I tell everyone who wants to come to Germany, don't trust an agent who has only 1 or 2 universities on the books. You need a choice, and you need to get yourself, in a position where you can decide between one or the other sections. Now, let me tell you that this is a services society. India is always relying on some other Indians to do some work for them. I would always advise people to just start doing your own research. We have the German Academic Exchange Service here, the DART. They have an excellent website where you can scroll to all the offers the German university system has for you. But if you go through an agent, because that's your tradition and maybe that's the easier way, but then take a good one and check on what he or she has to offer, and if it's only 2 schools, it's not a good agent.
Gentleman over here.
Good evening, Your Excellency. My name is Tanuj. I work for a German company called as Gisaki and Devrent. We are the...
I know them very well, of course.
Thank you so much.
Very, very good company.
Absolutely. So we were talking about, the technology transfer. We were talking about exchange of, automotive, starting at. We are looking at now, after all the sanctions which have been put by US on India, there are a lot of, shift or a transfer happening of GCCs now coming to India. We have UPI in India. I am sure you must have used it. We are giving that technology to Europe. Paris is using it, and Dubai is another example they have been using. We recently have been assigned a digital Europe a euro contract in Europe, which has been given to GND by the European Central Bank. How can we really expect or maybe get the support from the embassy in terms of getting that similar technology which has been devised in Germany or maybe in Europe in India?
So, this is interesting.
That's the answer.
This is very nice. So let me say that I have spoken to your leadership extensively. I think GND has a very, very interesting program when it comes to money digitization. So there is a big difference between Germany and India, and you would realize when you come to Europe, and Germany in particular, digitization is not at the level you experience it here. You are way ahead of any European country, and especially Germany. We are very much behind. So why wouldn't we introduce something like the UPI system, which is basically the most practical system I've seen in a long, long time? I pay all my stuff with my phone. It's just the best. I will tell you the reason. In Germany, people are very, very wary about their personal data protection. So people don't want to become completely transparent, let's say. This dates from the last, dictatorship in Germany during the Second World War, where people felt completely controlled by the state and the government, and that is a no-go in Germany. Now, I think we will introduce some digitization more and more, but the UPI, in its simple, fantastic way of, leading your life, everyday life, you pay a cup of tea, and a rickshaw, voila, you pay him with your phone. That I don't see coming so quickly. And it is true, of course, that in India, through UPI, people are much more transparent. Even with our institutions here, we feel that all of a sudden Indian Revenue Service is coming and saying, why do these people have money on their account? You know, this is something that the Germans want to avoid. They don't want to tax. So I want to say that it's a mentality difference. But the fact that G&D is working on that as a German company is for me quite good to know, because I think you will somehow understand this German mentality. You guys in Munich will understand the German mentality and will do their digitization process in a way that these reserves or these hesitations will be taken into account.
Any more questions? Probably a last one before the ambassador has to move on. Probably the last one. Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Ambassador, following your own distinction about perception, where, for instance, Siemens is widely thought of as local and also touching on the point of trade deals and human capital, my question is this. For the strategic health of our partnership, should we see the high demand for Indian talent in Germany as primarily a demand-driven German labor solution, or is it a German state actively modeling this human capital exchange as a strategic institutional mechanism for bidirectional knowledge creation, where India's contribution to German innovation is officially valued as a reciprocal strategic pillar?
What are you, kind of an IIT student in the last,
I'm a national law university.
You are good, you are very good, you are smarter than I. I try to understand what you are asking here. I think that what is the pull factor and what is the push factor of migration in a way? I think we in Germany feel that we are in need of skilled labor, and this is skilled labor across the board, craftsmanship as much as it is IT specializations or engineering. And we have made very good experiences with Indian workers, and therefore I think there is an open-mindedness, a readiness to receive and embrace Indian skilled labor coming to Germany. Now, I have to say, I wouldn't be a German if I didn't say that, I have to say it is also a challenge going to Germany. You know, I talked about the fog, but there is also xenophobia, there is a political landscape that is more tense than it was ever before. So it is a decision that everybody has to make for him or herself. And it is a decision that will not, I would say, in most cases, not lead to immediate success. You know, I don't know whether you saw the little Insta reel which went viral the other day of this wonderful young Indian man who said, you know, I've sent 600 applications to German companies after graduating in Germany. 600, 599 no's, and the last one was a yes. And now he's with BMW and very happy. And you know, I mean,
not so bad.
It's really great. He's really very, very good. But so this is kind of the pull factor. But I am convinced, you know, that when we have, or now that we have in Germany, a growing Indian community, that means also Germany is more exposed to India than ever before. So we have more of India in Germany, and that starts with little nice restaurants all of a sudden, you know. There's a wonderful little place in Berlin called Chutney Fry where I like to go. They offer chaat, you know, South Indian chaat. It's a very, very beautiful thing, and I think the Indian culture, Indian civilization will be more visible in the streets of Germany. And I think that's a good thing. You know, I'm happy about it. I think this is a very important part of the strategic relationship between our two countries. And therefore, I am mildly optimistic about the future of these migration pull and push factors. I think we will see a growing Indian community in Germany that will be more visible than ever before. And I think that will underscore and, you know, somehow solidify our relationship through people-to-people contact.
I'll just make one more point before I hand over about trust at the highest level between the Germans and us. One time we were going to the United States, the Prime Minister's on the Prime Minister's plane for 2008 for the Indo-US nuclear deal. And after he got on the plane, I think Prime Minister felt he wanted, Manmohan Singh it was, he wanted to spend the evening in Germany, in Frankfurt. So a call was made from the plane. And we were told shortly afterwards that yes, the Germans have cleared it. There's no time for visas. but then you guys will not need visas. So when we touched down in Frankfurt, there was a bus waiting for all of us, all about 80, 90 of us. The Prime Minister himself, top government officials, journalists, others, and all of us got into our cars and buses, went to the hotel, spent the night there, did our work. Next morning there were buses and cars. We were back in Frankfurt airport and on our way to New York. So that's what is called trust. We are in Germany, 80, 90 of us, no one has a visa. And yet, this is a sign, I think, of trust. So I went to your country without a visa.
You should have stayed and worked, you know.
We need good people in India too.
You are right, you are right.
Over to you.
Thank you, Ambassador Philipp Ackermann, for gracing us with a truly captivating and thought-provoking session. On behalf of Prabha Khaitan Foundation, I, Dipali Bhasin, Ehsaas Woman of Delhi, extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest of the evening, Ambassador Philipp Ackermann, and to our conversationalist, Srinjoy Chowdhury, for guiding us through such an enriching and insightful dialogue. A special note of thanks to our presenting partner, Smartworks, and our hospitality partner, the Connaught, for their generous support in making this evening seamless and memorable. To our wonderful audience, your presence, enthusiasm, and engagement brought life to the evening. Your active participation made this gathering truly special. At the Foundation, we are deeply committed to fostering cross-cultural understanding and appreciation of India's diverse and vibrant heritage. In this spirit, we are delighted to felicitate our guests with Kathputli, string puppet from Western India. Kathputli, the traditional handcrafted string puppet, is a vibrant symbol of India's storytelling heritage. Originating in Rajasthan and spreading to regions like Gujarat, this ancient art form has evolved over generations while preserving its cultural essence. Each puppet, made of wood, cloth, and string, is meticulously crafted. Its expressive face carved and painted. Its attire adorned in bright Rajasthani fabrics. Controlled by strings or metal wires, these puppets come alive through the artistry of skilled craftsmen. A timeless blend of theatre, music, and craftsmanship, Kathputli continues to keep India's cultural memory and imaginative spirit alive. May I now request Sonali Chauhan, GM the Connaught, to kindly felicitate Ambassador Philipp Ackermann. Yeah, it's a pair. Each attendee will also receive a card detailing the significance of this memento and sharing more about the work and vision of the Prabha Khaitan Foundation. Thank you once again, everyone.